Hello, hello. So I hope you're all having a wonderful Wednesday. Today I want to talk a little bit about reconnecting with your core. So I'm working with a client right now who has had a very difficult time making like the connection between her brain and her abdominal muscles, the core muscles. She is incredibly strong in her arms and legs, but has very little strength, and not just strength, but very little connection at all. And you'll kind of see what I mean to here. And a lot of the like pretty typical exercises that you would use with someone who can't connect with their core, like the dead bug or bird dog, she can just do because she's so strong. Otherwise, she gets those hip flexors involved, and her arms are so strong that she can just do all those things without ever engaging in the core at all. So I just want to share a little bit of what I'm doing with her to help her get that connection. And so the first thing I had her do, after we discovered that these other, kind of typical exercises weren't going to work for her, what I had her do was get on her back, kind of under my rower here, and then I had her just breathe really deeply out. So, and what's going to happen when you do that is your core is going to automatically engage. When you let all of the air out of your lungs, you need your core muscles to do that. And so that's what we started with. We started with just taking a deep breath and then letting out that air, and then that engaged her core. Now from there, what we did is then stomach vacuums. So we did the breath and then sucked those abs up and in towards the rib cage. So I'll show you that one more time. You just go breathe in, breathe all the way out, and then suck in even more to not only engage but then strengthen those core muscles. And after literally several days of this, basically just this, then we moved on to doing some of these other exercises while purposely, so she has to actually think about engaging the core. Doing these exercises doesn't automatically do it. So before any other exercise that we do, at least for right now, we do that breath. We start with the breathing and then the stomach vacuums, and then we go on to other exercises where where she does the breath between every rep. Every repetition, she does that breath. And also, so we did some ball crunches, which I can do a video on those. I don't have my ball with me right now. And we went into bird dogs. And what I do before the bird dogs, and I use the bird dog as sort of a metric for how well we're doing, kind of. So to get a little bit more strength going in those abs, we can do the breath on all fours. And so then we're working against gravity. So doing the breath, and this is what we do before any exercise, any repetition of any exercise, is we do the breath, and then I see how far she can extend while keeping that core engaged. And I'm using the bird dog as a metric because it's a pretty good indicator of whether or not, if her back falls, I know that her core is no longer engaged. So she gets to a certain point where then her back wants to do this in order for her leg to extend out further. But what we don't want the back to do that. We want the back to stay straight. And so she gets to about here, and that's as far as she can go. And so we're using that as we're strengthening for a few days, doing that doing the breathing, doing the breath between every repetition, doing a couple of different exercises like the ball crunch, like crunches with her heels on a bench, with her glutes elevated just a little bit, and we do rows like this, light banded rows, a lot of different exercises, but again, in order to keep and re-engage that core, and I purposely make her let the core, completely relax in between repetitions, because once her core is engaged, she can keep it there for the most part, but she has trouble re-engaging because that connection from her brain to her abdominal muscles isn't there. And so rebuilding that, and it's going to take several months probably to get to the point where she just automatically engages those muscles without having to breathe into it, without having to consciously think about it. And the bird dog is a good metric of how strong she is. The other thing I look at is she used to have to do 2 breaths in between her crunches with her heels up on a bench and her glutes elevated. She used to have to do 2 breaths between that. Now she only does 1 breath, and I look at how long it takes her to breathe in and out. And those are kind of the metrics I'm using to gauge how much progress we're making. And we're moving on to, different exercises that all of which so far are specifically designed to keep the hip flexors out of the movement, because she's so strong there. And so this is the process that I'm going through. I just wanted to share the process that I'm going through with one specific client. It's definitely been the most interesting and puzzling clients I've had so far in terms of how to really get that connection going. And this is literally all we've been working on for about, I would say, 6 weeks now. She comes twice a week, and this is what we work on. She does some exercises on her own. She does the breathing on her own, and a couple other little exercises on her own when she's not here. And she's definitely making progress, and then we're going to move on to other things. But sometimes it takes a long time, like when you've been moving a certain way for a long time, when when there's certain muscles that you haven't engaged, either ever or for years, it's going to take a while, because your brain basically has the neurons no longer talk to each other between that muscle and your brain, or they're very weak, or there are fewer of them, and you need to rebuild that. They're not as strong, the neurotransmitters aren't as strong, and that kind of thing. So you have to rebuild that connection, and when you do, it's easier to rebuild it in the future. And so that's what we're working on. That's what I'm working on with one of my clients, and I just wanted to share that for anyone who's having trouble re-engaging or engaging at all, or reconnecting with their abdominal muscles, especially like after you've had children, because those muscles really get expanded, and you lose during, for most of those 9 months, you lose all connect, and after, while you're healing, you lose all connection to them, and it takes a little while to build them back. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope that it helped, and you can also find me on Facebook and Instagram, as well as Locals. And I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day, and I will see you next week. Bye.